I'm Molly, and I'm from the Gidimt'en clan of the Wet'suwet'en Nation, which is one of 5 clans that make up the Wet'suwet'en. I consider myself a grassroots Wet'suwet'en organizer, so I work a lot with the Unistoten and the Samshu and within my own clan to resist pipelines to our territories. I'm a mother and also a wife.
My name's Cody Merriman. Born in Haida Gwaii, adopted in down in Vancouver Island into Nomgeese and Cloudsea, so that's also my extended family there. I have a brother there. Our son Liam here, he follows his mom. Haida's are matrilineal, and also the Wet'suwet'en are matrilineal, so that means he's the same clan as his mom. My job here right now, currently what I do for a paycheck is I work at a school here teaching youth. I do a lot of Wet'suwet'en curriculum with them and also just regular academic support. My role in Wet'suwet'en territory is I'm a supporter. A lot of my jobs and duties also come from my responsibility to my son. Right now I'm allowed to hunt and access certain territories that are Gidimt'en territories because I have borrowed rights because me and Molly have a son together. So as long as she's alive, then I have a responsibility to care for, or not care for, but I can access and provide for our family on their territory.
The traditional governance is the governance system that our people have been functioning in for thousands and thousands of years, and the band council system is a government that is basically an arm of the federal government, and so it's based on, and it's imposed through the Indian Act, which is based on Western law.
The band council systems, say, are opposed to the Indian Act, and they're a push for pseudo democracy and to centralize power, and it was a part of relocating First Nations people to reserves and to participate into the system and rely on the system so that they can't provide for themselves off the land. It's to create this disconnect from their hereditary system and where their traditional territories are, and really completely isolate them so that their systems and structures hopefully over time will break down. It's just a continued assault on what has sustained all Indigenous people for thousands of years. Well, because the band council systems, they are an illegitimate government in the sense that they don't follow who the hereditary leaders should be. The government makes the band councils the negotiating body for, well, they want them to be the negotiating body on behalf of projects, but that's not the case because they have no jurisdiction outside of what the reserve land is. They should essentially be a municipality that can govern that section of land, and everything else belongs to and always has to the hereditary system, and that's their responsibility.
So what's happening now is that there's companies. So what's happening now is that companies are saying that there are 16 First Nations that have signed on.
15, 16,
signed on to these projects, but so that makes people think that the Indigenous peoples in those local areas have signed on to the project and that they're willing partners with specifically Pacific Trails because they have a First Nations limited partnership deal for all these First Nations bands. And so within the First Nations band, they have a chief, which is called the chief, but it's actually the chief counselor, and then they have a council. So it's a system that's it's foreign to our own hereditary system, which actually governs all of the house and clan territories according to the house groups and the families and the hereditary chiefs of those territories. And so they make it appear as if the Indigenous peoples are for these projects, when actually it's the chief counselors and the council that have made these decisions on behalf of their band community and reserve that actually have no jurisdiction over any hereditary lands. and they often don't consult the community. And so even the communities within the reserves are resisting and standing up and saying, hey, we never agreed to this, you didn't ask us, what are you going to do about it? And they're being met with violent repression from police. And most recently in Burns Lake, the Burns Lake band, the community had signed a petition to try and get the chief counselor and one of the counselors to resign, because they figured that there were deals being made with Enbridge and with Pacific Trails Pipeline, and they didn't know anything because they weren't being told. So what happened was they occupied their band council office, and so this was led partly by community members, elders in the community, and one of the other counselors. And there was 3 people in the band office at one time, and over 30 police, marked and unmarked vehicles showed up, swarmed the area, came in with shotguns, loaded, and to evict basically 3 people, 3 band members that were occupying the band office, one of which was a 12-year-old child.
Well, the petition that she ended up being signed, I think, by 92% of on-reserve members, voting members. So that means 92% of people supported this peaceful action for asking for transparency from their elected government, and that was the response that they were met with.
So now what's happened is that we've asked the hereditary chiefs to come in and assert their authority, because it's not up to the band councils. And a lot of the areas, a lot of the other First Nations, the band council systems have signed on, and the communities are against the Pacific Trails Pipeline and Enbridge. So the hereditary chiefs are standing up and saying, you have no authority to make these kinds of decisions on our... I would like to think that shift has happened because of raising awareness about the issues. So certainly this issue had come up in 2007 within the Wet'suwet'en Nation, and there were several clan meetings. There was a research document that was created about this specific pipeline, which was named something different at the time. It was called the KSL Looping Project. And so I have the document and I've read it, and I've been trying to spread the word about the fact that the Wet'suwet'en have already said no in agreement. All of the clans have already said no to this project in 2007. And so that kind of fell under the radar for a little while. And so just raising that awareness and having events, and I think that it's become much more clear that the government's agenda is to create this carbon corridor. And so there's no denying that anymore. At first, we were the ones talking about the fact that it was paving the way, and a lot of people, I think, were unsure about whether or not that was true or what the implications of that would be. But most recently, the provincial government, Christy Clark, has said specifically, this is what's happening. We're all about all of these LNG pipelines to go through. This is what the economy is going to be like, and assuming that that's the case and that that's what's going to happen without ever asking any Wet'suwet'en or Indigenous peoples along the way. So I think that shift in thinking and it being more clear that yes, this is what the plan is. People are realizing that we need to do something now, and hearing about other Indigenous people and other places that are suffering severe consequences because of these kinds of industries and exploitation, that we don't want to face that same fate. And we have a vantage point because things haven't already started here, and we're not going to let that vantage go to waste. We need to step up and be really active now, because it's not even going to get to the stage where we have to lock ourselves to machinery. Well, we've received a lot of support from allies that has been tremendous and really vital. So One of the things that is really important is to have that communication open. So we are in a really isolated area. We are in a town and in a community where industry is the livelihood of a lot of people, and so it's hard to get support locally. But seeing local people seeing the support that we have all over the province or all over the country or all over the world really helps to make it feel safer to become involved. And there's safety in numbers, so it makes people feel less alone in the struggle. It certainly makes us feel less alone in the struggle, and when it gets really, really tough being in a small community and being an activist in a small community, it kind of gives us hope that other people are in solidarity with us, and that they're also spreading the word, and that it's not solely on our shoulders, which it feels like. I feel like it's really hopeful. We know for sure that Pacific Trails pipeline is not coming through Wet'suwet'en territory. Seeing our chiefs stand up in the feast hall and assert that same message is really powerful, and that's shifted a lot. So we just keep getting stronger and stronger, and we're just going to continue to keep getting stronger and stronger. And Pacific Trails or any other pipeline or industry that intends to come in without Wet'suwet'en consent is going to get a run for their money for sure.